So when you look at this picture right here in front of you, what do you imagine? Somebody who was just messing around in Snapchat and they decided to take a selfie, correct? But the reality is, what was really going on is the arms that you're actually seeing now on screen. Both arms, I had an IV on one, I had loads of blood taken out from the other. So one hand was bandaged, the other one had an IV in it. And in addition to that, I later found out that I had burst I don't know if it's two exactly, but I burst some blood vessels in one of my eyes on both sides of the same eye. And you're probably wondering, what on earth happened? Well, basically, long story short, I got very sick on a Monday night, was in excruciating pain the entire night. By morning, I was throwing up, called 111, who later said, yeah, we have to get you an ambulance. And ambulance came, they had to do ECG, they had to take my blood pressure, they found irregularities in my heart, etc., etc., etc. Ended up in an ambulance, had a mini panic attack whilst I was in the ambulance, ended up in A&E, spent the whole day in hospital getting checked for bloods, checked for urine, checked for all kinds of things, and they found inconsistencies. Went home late at night, had to go back the very next day in the morning and go through more tests, bloods, scans, you name it. Spent another whole day in the hospital. And then they discovered that I had an infection. And that's why the whole abdomen area was affected. And the reason why I ended up the blood vessels burst in my eyes, because by morning, the whole throwing up was so aggressive to the point where I felt like I was hemorrhaging. And hence the blood vessels being burst. But also it meant that I spent 48 hours having not eaten a single thing. 1, out of fear, 2, out of a lot of pain. And 3, because I couldn't eat the next day because I had to go with my whole system clean. So it meant 48 hours, I literally hadn't eaten anything at all. So I was weak. Right now I'm on antibiotics and I'm on a healing journey, so I'm fine. But you're asking, why are you telling us all of this? Well, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I realized something when I took the selfie, or after I was looking at the pictures and stuff. I thought, hang on a minute. A lot of people will take pictures like this selfie and they will happily post it on social media with some positive message. But what they will not tell you is that in my picture, for instance, I was at the hospital. I was in the emergency room when I took that picture. It's because I was waiting and waiting and waiting to go in and out of the doctor's office, test after test. At some point, I started fidgeting with my Snapchat and I took that selfie. All in at the same time, having my arms full of needles in them and plasters and bandages and stuff. That was happening at the same time. But people will choose on social media or in the way they present themselves as though their lives are perfect. And even with the information age that we're in, people still choose to buy into that. And I find that highly bizarre. We've got access to information and we can do reality checks in situations, but we still choose to buy into the illusion that people's lives are perfect. And then when it is revealed that those people's lives have been somewhat not so great behind the scenes, or there's been a divorce, or someone is abusive towards their kids, or there's all kinds of nefarious things happening behind the scenes, they're shocked. Why are you shocked at reality? The reality is there's people who behave badly, there's people who behave well. The reality is life is never perfect and is never in one line. Life has its ups and downs. And I think if a lot more people who especially those who post all the time on social media, learn to be more honest and actually post the ups and downs. And I'm not talking about just posting a sob story for the sake of a sob story. I'm talking about just giving people the real, the good, the bad, and the ugly. When things happen, you will find that people actually end up developing this compassion, because what ends up happening right now is because people are so accustomed to seeing everything so rainbows and unicorns, when the bad thing happens in those situations or this particular influence or whatever, they're shocked. And not only are they shocked though, with compassion to go, oh my gosh. In most cases, they're not. People run to use that as fodder for gossip. So basically, people have become desensitized to bad things happening to people because they just want to see the good. For what reason? It's not even part of your life. This basically brings me to a couple of scriptures that I wanted to look at, which is the book of Romans chapter 12, verse 6, which says, having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. In other words, it's basically saying, whatever gifts God has given you, rather than you focusing on somebody else's gift, right? Focus on the gift that's been given you accordingly. When you spend so much time focusing on everybody else's gifts, not only will it end up bringing out envy and jealousy, but also it puts you in a place of stagnation because you're not focusing on yourself. You're overtly focusing on somebody else's gift. And then by that way, you are actually dishonoring your own gifts. You're basically leaving your own gifts stagnant and doing absolutely nothing with them. Another verse, Galatians chapter 1, verse 10 says, for do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet please men, I should not be the servant of Christ. And again, this is emphasis on, again, always looking to other people's perfection and going, oh, that's amazing. Oh, couple goals. Oh, Lord, it's me again. I want that. Do you really? Do you really? Are you here to please man to the point where even the people who are posting, you're constantly posting people, and for what reason? It makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever because it doesn't help anybody, not really. It's a temporary fix, maybe endorphins or whatever they get when from watching you all of briefly, not knowing the reality of what you've had to go through or put through in order to even post that amazing looking family picture or video. So why are we not focusing on ourselves and busy focusing on other people whilst foregoing what we need to sort out and focus on in our own lives? Which brings me to Galatians chapter 6, verse 4 to 5, which says, but let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden. Every man shall bear his own burden. My burden is not for you to carry, and your burden is not for me to carry. So by that premise, guys, why are we not focusing on honing our own path that God has ordained for us? Instead, we're choosing to neglect the paths that God has given us because we're choosing to focus on what else is going on in other people's lives, what else is going on who's posting what and when. And low-key, something people don't even mention is that even when people admire certain people who look amazing all the time on social media, when they have their downfall or their down moment, there is a smidgen of glee in some people. Why? Because their lives themselves are not perfect, because they're not focusing on their own lives. When the reality is nobody's life is perfect. Everybody's life has ups and downs. And we spend time focusing less on other people's ups. We get to be able to appreciate the ups and downs that are in our lives. But also in addition to that, we come to the realization that even those people who just showcase their ups also have downs. What I'm basically trying to say, guys, is the reality is there's people who are going to post pictures like the selfie that I took whilst I was literally in the A&E in excruciating pain. But they'll never show you that they had IVs in their arms and that they were in a lot of pain whilst waiting for hours and hours on end in the emergency room, whilst not even mentioning that literally a few hours prior, there was a high chance they could have even died. So let's learn to focus more on ourselves and the path God has given us than coveting someone else's path, because it will be to our own detriment when we choose to focus on someone else when someone else's path has never been the blueprint we have been given to create our own foundation. We need our own blueprint. Don't try to use someone else's blueprint to create your foundation, because your foundation is not going to stand. It will fall.